Hey folks, I'm going to start today's video off with a look at the forecast. If you know Celsius, you can see that we're approaching shorts weather here. And it's looking pretty nice next weekend. To give you an idea, 23 degrees Celsius is 73, 74 Fahrenheit. So, it's looking nice. Safe to assume we're not going to be getting any more snow, but this is Canada. Anything can change. This is still a few days off. It could change tomorrow. Now look at this again. It could all be single digits. Who knows? It's just kind of the way things happen. But I'm kind of liking it. We got some rain coming this weekend. I'll kind of get into that a little bit later. But for now, I'm liking it. I'm looking forward to it, finally. I'm trying to figure out why my speedometer cable is binding. As far as I knew, I didn't do anything differently. So I got thinking about it, and after I cut it to length, there's a little extra piece that I crimp onto the end of it. And I normally put that on the bottom. At this time, I put it at the top because I figured it'd be easier to manage. And I'm wondering if that part is actually a little bit too long. So I'm going to take the monster apart here, and I'm going to pull the cable out and switch it around and put the crimp part at the bottom where it used to be, and see if that makes any difference. So this is the cable, and this is the little part that gets crimped onto the end of it, and I'm thinking it might be a little bit too long. So I'm going to stick this part down at the bottom, but I gotta stick this end in. And unfortunately, when I first put this in and the cable was binding, I thought maybe it was a bit too long, so I cut this end off, and there's a bit of a burr there, and I can't get it to go up this stupid thing, so I'm gonna trim this up a little bit and try again. was supposed to be a quick and easy job. Always expect complications when working on a monster. But it's done. Hey, go out and enjoy the nice day. And see if I fix the problem. Apparently, problem is solved. Speedometer or speed reading is staying steady, reading exactly what it's supposed to read. So apparently the problem was that crimp-on part was too long. So when the cable's screwed in tight, it's just kind of putting too much pressure on it and it's not allowing it to spin freely. So nice to have that fixed finally. So I'm at Rona again. I'm going to be changing the bearings and I'm getting another drill bit just in case one breaks. Because if I get in a situation where I don't have any drill bits left and the monster's in pieces and yeah, the other scooter's not really working properly. I may talk about that at another point in time, but for now I wouldn't have any way of getting out here. So anyways, they're letting people in now. And you walk in the door, it's kind of like a little maze thing to keep people separated. And you have to sanitize your hands as soon as you walk in, get what you want, and then the whole entire checkout counter is encased in glass. So what you do is you come up to it, and the only hole in this glass is for the debit machine. And they have kind of a bench, I guess, countertop in front. So you have to lean over the counter and hold the barcode up to this COVID-proof glass, and they scan it through it. And good to go. Oh my. At least they're letting people in the store now. They're making progress. by the time I got back home, the temperature had increased by 1 whole degree. It's still nice, I'll take it. But notice there's something added. A special weather statement.
A month's worth of rainfall possible over the next 36 to 48 hours for parts of southern Ontario, heightening the concern for flooding in flood-prone and low-lying areas as we continue through the long holiday weekend. This isn't the typical heavy rainfall event. We've got a couple of factors at play. Focusing on the satellite imagery, the green arrows indicating all of that moisture that's being driven in from the Atlantic with the low, the main low that will be pushing into the region. Now, all of that pushes through Sunday, beginning Sunday and continuing into Monday. But the other big factor as well will be the ridge to the east. Notice the two centers, one over Quebec, the other over the Western Atlantic. That holds in place, really slowing down the progression of the low across the area. So that's going to be pulling in quite a bit of moisture that lingers through the region. Rain likely to start for us on Sunday, take us through Sunday night and all through Monday, and perhaps that moisture finally wrapping up as we head through Tuesday. And as you can see, this is mainly a southern Ontario story. 75 to 100 millimeters of rainfall not out of the question for parts of the region from southern Georgian Bay across the GTA and through southwestern Ontario. There could even be some embedded thunderstorms that may bring some heavier rainfall totals.
So with rain forecasted for the next 3 days, I thought this might be a good time to start working on the monster's bearings. Well, things didn't go well. My tools kept breaking, and the drill bit just didn't seem to want to go into the bearing this time. The problem I had was both bearings were still intact, and I couldn't smash the raceway with the full bearing, so I had to break the outer bearing, and just nothing was working. I bent my punch. I wrecked one of my pry bars. So I just kind of ran out of ideas and ran out of energy. This was Saturday. So my next option would be to get some new tools. Unfortunately, now that the hub's off and the bearings are out, I can't ride the monster. And this time of day, everything's closed now. Our hardware stores are not open on Sundays, and Monday being Victoria Day is a holiday. I'm not going to be able to do anything till Tuesday. So I was kind of frustrated. So next day, Sunday, I come out and I got an idea. Something I've seen before about how to remove bearings using a welder. Apparently, if you weld the raceway all the way around, then once it cools, it's supposed to shrink and it'll just basically fall out. I never really believed that, because I'm thinking, well, if you weld it, you got all this extra steel on there, so it's not going to shrink. It's going to stay in the shape that the steel is kind of forced it into. But I didn't have any alternative ideas, so I decided to try it. Yeah, well, it worked. It worked perfectly. So because the inner bearing was still intact, and now that the outer bearing was out of the way, I was able to get something down in there and just kind of force it out, and it worked perfectly. So that was a bit of a relief. Well, I got the bearings changed. There's actually still a little bit of motion in there. I don't know what's going on with that. Bearings are brand new. They fit nice and tight. So I'm thinking, because they're so close together, the claws that go back into the speedometer mechanism, I think are part of the structure. I think it might be worn out. But it's a lot better than it was. It's not wobbling all over the place. So I didn't take video of this time, because the frustration is usually involved in it. I started yesterday and I was going crazy. all coming apart. I tried drilling holes in it, and I wasn't in the best physical condition to do it to begin with. And I was just having a really rough time. So I come out today and I ended up using the welder technique, welding it, and once it cools off it shrinks and it basically just falls out. Well, that worked, thankfully. And the inner bearing, thankfully, is still intact. I was able to push it out the other end. That saved me a whole lot of time. So I was very thankful for that. So it's all done, back together. It's raining today. I just don't feel like going anywhere. But at least now I can. So I get that done. So now once I get the energy, it's time to do the ball joint and put the new summer tires on, and I'm all good to go till the next set of bearings decide they want to die. So, but at least I got this done. I'm happy. So if I need to go out, I can. And who knows, temperature's not too bad today. I might end up going out later on anyways. I was kind of worried because... Sorry, I can't do two things at once here. I'm kind of worried because I was kind of destroying my punch and my pry bar. As I was pounding on it, the metal kind of come up through the handle, so all my tools are breaking on me. I was kind of worried about what I was going to do, so I was going to put it off for a little while. That was Saturday, and Sunday I can't go anywhere to get new tools because our hardware stores are not open on Sundays, and of course Monday's a holiday. So nothing would have been open on Monday. I would have had to wait till Tuesday. So it'd be 3 days without using the monster. Oh. Which isn't a huge deal, but 3 days of not being able to go anywhere. So I come out today and everything's good now. So I can go for a drive if I want to. So I'm happy. All the times of all the times that I've had to change the bearings on the monster, I think this was the one that worked the best, easiest. So if you noticed, I haven't actually shaved yet. I just kind of trimmed everything, so everything's uneven. I get this really thick spot here still, and same with my head. I just trimmed everything. I just kind of put a towel on my lap while I was sitting at the computer and just kind of blindly started cutting just to trim it, just make it cooler and easier to sleep. It was, especially this was creating a problem trying to sleep. So got that solved. This is just until I get around to going in the washroom, getting the actual shaver, and just get it all off. It's just a temporary thing. So we're all good. And set the monster down, tighten the wheel up, and we're all good to go.